It's not uncommon for things to be forgotten for years on end, resulting in them becoming covered in dust and spider webs. And in the vast majority of cases, this does not at all present an issue. In other instances, it poses a significant challenge. People are known to unearth anything in their attics, from priceless relics to unimaginable terrors. Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new video on the channel. Today we are going to talk about the top 10 incredible attic finds. Before we get started with the video, don't forget to smash the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get started. Number 10. Glass negatives. When you seek something in the attic, you will eventually come across a large box containing an antique slide projector and innumerable slides. Some photographs worth more than your old holiday photos have been discovered in Peoria, Illinois, tucked inside a box in the attic of an abandoned house. The boxes held nearly 200 glass negatives from the late 1800s and early 1900s. The negatives were discovered right before the house was demolished, and they were sold in a salvage shop to Peoria Historical Society picture restoration expert Chris Trogett Coulter. Coulter had to make special holders for the negatives before restoring and digitizing them. He posts the photographs online and begs for help identifying who or what is in them. Number 9. Grandson's body. Similar to basements, attics often have a sinister and unsettling atmosphere. Imagine discovering a dead mouse inside. Imagine coming across a dead body in your attic. Not just any dead body, but the body of someone you knew and cared about. This terrifying event happened to Zenobia Richmond, who is 65 years old and lives in Erie, Pennsylvania. When the elderly woman heard a bang upstairs in her attic, she hurried to check it out. When she got there, she found her own grandson, Daquan Rogers, who was in a terrible state of decomposition. Daquan Rogers had just turned 21 years old when he vanished without a trace in the year 2014. Since none of the searches had turned up any results, the family could only hold out hope that he had left Erie. Number 8. A bong shell. An investigation led to the discovery of 4 fully functional grenades hidden in the attic of a house in Oak Creek, Wisconsin. Can you picture someone having the thought that it would be a good idea to dump 4 bombs on the heads of other people? Or has he lost track of where he stored his explosives? After the initial shock, the homeowners of the home called the authorities, and the 4 explosives exploded while the officers watched. Surprisingly, it appears that attics are common places where surviving explosives can be located. In 2016, a firebomb from World War II was unearthed from its hiding place within the attic of a house. In spite of the fact that some of the timbers had already been charred, the bomb did not go off when it was supposed to. Number 7. A monarch's head. A journalist working for a TV production business named Stephen Gabbett found a skull in the attic of Jacques Bellinger's house. It turned out to be a peasant's head from 400 years ago that had been preserved, so it wasn't just any old head. After conducting their research, scientists came to the conclusion that it was the head of Henry IV, who ruled France from 1589 until 1610. It is not known how the head of the king came to be wrapped up and stored in the attic. What is known is that royal rebels broke into Henry's grave 183 years after his death and cut off the head of the monarch. A French couple in the 1900s bought the skull at an auction and eventually sold it to Bellinger in 1955 for the sum of 5,000 francs. Number 6. Unsigned Van Gogh. What do Picasso, Warhol, Caravaggio, and Vincent van Gogh have in common? Yes, they were all excellent artists, but they also painted paintings that were lost in time and made their finders extremely wealthy when they were rediscovered. A Norwegian guy discovered the sunset at Montmajour in his attic in 2013, but he didn't like it since he assumed it was a forgery. By 1991, the owner had already consulted Van Gogh museum experts, who had determined that the artwork was a forgery because the missing signature was lost in time and made their finders extremely wealthy when they were rediscovered. A Norwegian guy discovered the sunset at Montmajour in his attic in 2013, but he didn't like it since he assumed it was a forgery. By 1991, the owner had already consulted Van Gogh museum experts, who had determined that the artwork was a forgery because of the missing signature. However, the picture was inspected again several years later using new technology. They finally concluded that the picture was a genuine Van Gogh after chemical analysis, an X-ray study, and an assessment of Van Gogh's letters to his brother. Number 5. Hitler's record collection. When World War II ended in 1945, Lew Bisiminski was a captain in the Russian militia. He visited the captured Nazi headquarters, the Reich Chancellery in Berlin, and discovered something very remarkable. There were numbered boxes all around the house full of Hitler's personal possessions, and the Russians seized some of them as souvenirs. Years later, in 1991, Alexandra Bisiminski went to the attic in search of a badminton racket. She discovered a box labeled Reich Chancellery rather than the racket. It housed Hitler's personal record collection, which included Wagner, Beethoven's piano sonatas, and musicians considered subhuman by the Nazis such as Peter Tchaikovsky, Alexander Borodin, and Sergei Rachmaninoff. Hitler loved music and went to the opera practically every day when he resided in Vienna. Number 4. $5 million Faberge. A little but extremely rare Faberge miniature had been hidden in an attic in New York for nearly 70 years. It fetched $5.2 million at auction, thanks in part to its intriguing background. Tsar Nicholas II had commissioned the figure for his wife, Empress Alexandra, in 1912. We all know how the Russian monarchy ended and with it the figure. It was recovered again in 1934 and sold to George Davis, but for whatever reason it vanished again and was finally discovered 70 years later, more or less by accident. Only 50 of these figures exist, but you could have mistaken them for a festive decoration. We should perhaps be more cautious about the items we use to decorate our Christmas trees. Number 3. Superman comic. This story sounds like it came straight out of a fairy tale, or from a comic book, a Superman comic book. When a couple's home had to be prepared for a bank takeover, the owners had to clean out the attic. They discovered almost 50 cartons of comics, the majority of which were worthless. One comic was an outlier. They discovered a very good condition copy of Action Comics No. One from 1938. Only 99 books were known to exist at the time. Originally purchased for 10 cents, the couple donated the holy grail of comic novels to an auction, where it sold for a staggering £1.5 million. They were now able to not only keep the house, but also purchase a new villa on top of it. Number 2. Diamonds. Diamonds are more than just a girl's best friend. They're everyone's friend, and it's even nicer when you can receive them for free inside a chair. Angela Milner Brown, 50, lives in Biggar, South Lanarkshire, with her husband Angus, 47. They paid £5 at an auction for an antique chair in 2006. The pair recalls that the chair was in poor condition and matte because they lacked the funds to restore it. It ended up in the attic. The chair had been sleeping in the attic for 6 years when Angus Milner Brown decided it was time to reupholster it. He had to peel the old cushion material off, and after 4 layers he noticed a glitter. Diamond jewelry had been secreted inside the chair. Angus, a romantic, kept the discovery a secret and surprised his wife multiple times with the jewelry as a gift before ultimately revealing where it came from. The pair decided to take their treasure to the BBC Antique Roadshow, where it was appraised at roughly £5,000 and it was accepted. Number 1. Bags of cash. Josh Farron, a resident of Bountiful, Utah, had recently purchased his first home. Of course, he had searched every room, but what he discovered while looking for a space for his tools in the garage was unexpected. During his investigation, he came across an odd-looking panel in the ceiling with a small bit of carpet protruding from it. As a father, he looked into whether there might be a nice spot for his children to play behind the panel. He discovered an antique-looking ammunition case as well as 7 other cartons. When he opened them, he saw that they were all filled with rolled cash. The family began counting but stopped after $45,000. However, being the nicest guy in history, Josh Farron refused to keep the money and instead returned it to the family of the deceased owner. That's a wrap on the video. I hope you liked it. If you did, let me know by giving it a thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.